Have you ever felt overwhelmed with all that's going on in the world? Sometimes we don't realize that we can make a difference. My name is Debbie Van Grieken, and it is my hope to inspire you to take small steps towards social impact. Join us each week as we have conversations with those who have taken simple steps towards living a more sustainable and socially conscious lifestyle. If you want to make social impact, let's start small. The Small Steps podcast is proudly sponsored by Moya Shea Products. As a listener, enjoy 15% off your online purchase. Use code SMALLSTEPS15 at checkout. At Moya, we believe in people helping people. Supporting the local and global communities that help our organization succeed is very important to us. We apply a fair trade framework when purchasing raw materials, supporting farmers and families. Thinking global and acting local, Moya works with organizations to better the lives of children through education and fair trade. Are you looking for the best moisturizer for beautiful, healthy, glowing skin? Our Shea products are superb moisturizers and have exceptional healing properties for those suffering from skin issues. Check out these products and our wellness line at moyasheabutter.com. Welcome back to the Start Small podcast. I'm your host, Debbie Van Grieken, and today I'll be speaking with Lillian Bremmut. Lillian and her husband Dave are the team behind Brummet Media Group. They have a number of award-winning books and a popular blog. Their 2-book series, Trash Talk, It's Easy to Be Green, speaks about green living and the small steps that we can take to have a big impact. Well, that's right up our alley. Please welcome Lillian to the show. Hi, Lillian. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me in.
And where in the world are you located?
Well, we're actually located in BC, Canada, which is the westernmost province of Canada, and we're on the southern, sort of the south central area of that province, right above like Washington, Oregon sort of area.
Oh, nice. I love BC. I've been there a couple of times now. I'm out in Ontario, so
Oh, yes.
so it's really nice to visit the West Coast. I got to the East Coast this year for the first time, and that was really pretty as well, but I love
Nice.
the West. So I'm really excited to dive into this because you have a book series that really piqued my interest. It's called Trash Talk. It's Easy to Be Green. And just start by telling us what inspired you to write these books.
Well, at one point I was running a separate business. I ran that business for 6 years. It was called Incredibly Clean, and I was servicing more upper class people, cleaning their homes and providing home services for them. And again, I was doing that for about 6 years, and I was seeing this sort of apathy towards going green. And I would see from them way back in the day, this was back in the 1995 era, when zero waste was really becoming a coined term back then. And so I was seeing from these people a bit of resistance because they felt like they were in this state of apathy. They were being fed all this negative information about the state of the world, and they felt like little old them wasn't going to make any kind of difference. So why should I even bother?
Right.
Plus, it was a lot more effort to get involved back then than it is now. It's so much easier now to be green than it was then. You had to put a little more thought, roll up your sleeves, and get a little more active then. Now you still have to do that, but not as much. And so I wanted to encourage people that this was really something that was quite doable. And also, I wanted to help the people who were out there really struggling with their budget and thinking that they couldn't do anything proactive here at home or in their office to better manage their budget, to extend their budget. And one of the greatest ways of doing this is managing your waste stream much more efficiently. So we wanted to show them that. And I was taking a course at the time which was teaching me about, the logistics of being a writer, the business aspects of being a writer.
Right.
And one of those assignments was, hey, can you come up with an article that has a potential of being syndicated? I was like, dude, I've got one. So I wrote it, and sure enough, it got picked up right away. It got syndicated across, all over the world, France and Europe and Canada and the States and Ireland and Africa. There was a publication in Africa that was publishing the columns. So it went all over the place over that time period. And I think it was about 6 or 7 years into running that column. And I realized, there is so much information that I cannot share on these topics because I'm limited to a certain amount of word count, with
Right.
you have a
Like,
certain
you
amount of
need a book.
space. Yes. And so I
It's
took
like
all of
when
that.
somebody says, I can write a book about this. You
That's
literally
right.
could.
I literally could. So that's really where the first edition came from. Of course, now it's in a 2-book series. Initially, it was 1 book. Now it's in a 2-book series.
And what can people expect to find when they purchase your book? So, like, how's it kind of laid out? Is it tips? What
Okay.
kind of things?
So we started out the series with like a step 1, step 2, book 1, book 2 type of thing, right? So step 1 is a little bit more easier. It's easy to be green. So we're teaching you how to decrease your environmental footprint by reusing items that would have formerly been destined to the landfill, reuse, repurpose. We also encourage a heck of a lot of R's before even purchasing the item. So can you rent it? Can you repair what you've already had? Can you borrow from a neighbor? Can you barter with your neighbor who maybe you have a rototiller and they have a lawnmower or something, and you can barter? Do you need to own all of these machines and equipment and store them and maintain them? Can we not just rent them and support a local business? Can we not barter with our friends, family, neighbors in this regard? So there's lots of things that we can do behind the scenes. We can reconsider what we're purchasing and be a lot more conscious with our consumerism. So we teach them all of those things. And we went alphabetically. So we took items that were commonly found in your home or your office waste bin and itemized that alphabetically, listing all of those things. And then we went into, okay, well, can you return it? Can you repurpose it, or can you donate it in some way? Because there's lots of organizations and classes and workshops around your community in your own neighborhood that are really hungry for certain types of things that you're just throwing away.
Right.
So
And now
maybe,
it's become really popular to thrift. Before, it used to kind of be,
right.
you didn't tell people that it was a thrifted outfit. Now it's like,
Everybody's bragging about how
everybody
green they
wants to
are.
keep
Yeah,
it.
that's right. How much it's changed since I first started writing in this industry, that's
Exactly.
for sure. And so we show them that, this can be done. They can save hundreds of dollars a month just by taking a few of these ideas and employing them in their home and office. And then the second book delves a little bit farther than all the R's in waste management, and it goes into the more like saving energy, conserving energy, conserving water, all kinds of really easy ways to do it around your home and office. You can save like instantly 15% on your energy bill with just a few of the ideas that we're sharing. There's a bunch of information that takes your waste management to the next level in regards to, now we're going to talk about composting, a few other things like that. So it goes just a little bit deeper, the extra step, but so the first book introduces you into how easy it is to be green. It inspires you, motivates you, shows you the real measurable difference. Like just recycling 3 metal cans, 3 soup cans saves enough energy in the system to power your light bulb for 4 hours. So knowing that each of these tiny actions has a measurable impact, I think really inspires people to, roll up their sleeves, stop pointing the fingers at the governments and the big businesses, and maybe getting a little more involved there at home, because
Yeah,
really it's
because
you and I who makes the difference.
like you said, like, people get really overwhelmed, but when they realize that they can actually, have a legitimate part and a role in this and make small steps, which is what we're all
Yes.
about, then, you really can make a difference. I know you talk in the book about the 4 R's, and why don't you just give us a brief clip of the 4 R's, because I know it's most people hear of 3, but you've got 4. So
Actually, I think there's more like 8 or 9 of
yeah.
them. Yeah, there's so many. So, the first one I want everyone to think about is just reconsider your power as a consumer. So when you're at that shelf, is what you're purchasing, is it packaged in an environmentally conscious way? Look at the back and read a little bit about the company. Maybe they got a QR code or something that you take a picture of and go visit, and be able to learn a little bit about what they're doing behind the scenes. Do they donate to charities that you're that you're proud to help them support doing? Are they involved in community projects? Do they invest in sustainable in-house policies like switching over to solar power or wind power, or these other activities in the company? So we want to make sure that where we're spending our money, we're spending it on the companies that we believe in what they're doing. Even if it takes like 50 cents more at the till, it's a really good idea to choose, make a little bit more conscious decision. I know we're all watching our pennies, but when we're making those financial decisions, sometimes paying that extra 25 cents or 50 cents means you're supporting something you believe in. Now,
Right.
when we do that, that has a profound impact on the future. We're telling every dollar that we spend, every penny we put into the system is telling the system where we want it to go in the future. We're the
And
ones that's
companies
directing
are
that.
being held accountable to this now. Like it's, companies are starting to step up because they're seeing that they're losing money because
Well,
people
they
are
have.
going elsewhere to
Oh
other
yeah.
brands.
And they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars having a whole team of people doing nothing but tracking the interest of their potential consumers. And they want to attract those consumers. And so
Right.
they know that you're interested in these things. They're going to darn well do what they can to appeal to your interest and your beliefs so that they align with you, and then they're going to get richer for it. So
Right.
that's really how the system has always been driven. So it's you and I who have driven this, the everyday individual who has driven this change that we've seen in our own lifetime in the last, couple,
Mhm.
20, 30 years. We've seen a huge change in the industry when it comes to greening, sustainable, buy local, all those, various aspects of
Right.
living more consciously. And this is the main reason why, is because we're becoming more conscious when we're out there shopping.
That's amazing. Yeah, and of course, we talk about fair trade a lot on this program because of my fair trade
Mhm.
business, and again, I think that once we become aware and educate ourselves about this, you just can't go back. Like that for me was the case when I learned about fair trade and I realized that companies weren't just automatically doing that. Then I consciously had to go out and look for fair trade items that I was purchasing because I couldn't unlearn what I had learned, I couldn't turn a blind eye to that. So I think the more that people are starting to understand this, the more people are getting on board and then, definitely making a change for those companies because they have no choice in the matter now. They have to pay attention.
Absolutely. That is so very true.
So in the book, you talk a lot about things that you can do. And I love you have this one line that just says, just start where you are. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
Yeah, start where you are and start how you mean to continue. So for me, instead of looking at the big picture and becoming so overwhelmed by it all and not knowing where to start, you start right this minute. You start with what you're doing right now. How can you improve it? How can you make it more sustainable? That's where you start right now, right where you are with your actions that you're taking on today. So let's say you have a retail store where people are coming in your front door. So there's a million things that you could really do to encourage traffic to come inside that door and capture that audience. If you have a plan, to talk to them and capture them and entice them about your business once they're inside your door. How do you get them in there? Well, one of the ways is you have a free library. So you have all these donated books where they come and they can bring books and they can take books totally free, all these used books. Keeps the literacy going, keeps books from heading in the landfill. It helps people extend their budgets, introduces them to a wide array of information in the world of literacy. Why not play a role in that? It gets people in your door. If you're already collecting, say, your inkjet printer cartridges for returning back to a company, and you're going to send them in or take them into an outlet where they collect those for recycling, why not put a collection box out there in your front waiting room and invite people in your advertising and in your press releases and so forth, and a poster on your window, whatever, and invite them into your store to bring their returnables in as well. Light bulbs,
Love
batteries.
it.
I mean, all of these kinds of things that you could bring, and it's driving traffic now into your store. And if your front staff is trained, they're going to know how to convert that traffic into a potential customer in your future, as well as making a difference locally in your community. It's a really easy thing to do, and it's win-win.
That's amazing. I love that. And such simple, easy things, easy steps to do, but can have such a huge impact. As a
Yes.
former librarian, I love the idea of having the little
Oh, great.
library in the books, that won me over right away. But yeah, what a
That's
simple thing
great.
to do. And
Right.
it would really make a difference. I'm already thinking of a few small businesses that I've interviewed on here who would be able to do something like that very easily,
Yeah,
and
and we're all
would love it.
struggling with advertising and trying to get attention, and this is a great way to get media attention. And those local newsletters and things, they love highlighting businesses who are trying to do things like that. One of the things that we do with our business, in regards to the studio portion of our business, Dave's teaching studio, it's called Angle Hill Studio, and he teaches drums and percussion. One of the things that he does is he has this Drum It Forward project. And what he gathers, cleans, repairs all these bits and pieces of percussive instrument, uh, bits and pieces, and he saves them. He gets them donated from people. Stores will have them left over from something and they don't know where it came from, and here's a box of mixed miscellaneous. A recording studio might have bits and pieces, these kinds of things. People are changing over their instruments, no longer playing their instruments, they're broken. They'll donate them to Dave, and he'll refurbish them, repair them, and get them back into the market. So he does that by either donating to the schools or by donating to underprivileged students who would love to get out and play but don't have an instrument to play on. So when he's working with schools like public schools or nonprofit music programs, what he does is he waits until he has enough of these types of materials, enough washers and stuff to,
Mhm.
warrant going on a trip. And then he'll arrange with 2 or 3 or 4 different schools, and he'll go into their music rooms and open up the closets and their cupboards and their boxes, and he'll put together instruments they didn't even know they had, and then make them available then for their students. And he does this free of charge. It helps him, of course, get known in the world of music,
Right.
and it helps him make a difference as well, which is something he really believes in.
That's amazing. And then repurposing things, like you said, that would normally be going to the landfill.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, such a win. When we are talking about in the book, you talk a lot about how some of these tips and things you can do actually saves you money. And in a day like the days like today, and the inflation numbers came out, and are we going into a recession? Well, I believe we're already in one, but so these things are really important as young families particularly are trying to save for their future. And uh you talk about how if you could just, I think it was like something like you could save $7 a day or something like that, and then invest that into an RSP. Um, just elaborate a little bit on that, and in just the cost effectiveness of being a zero waster.
Okay, so instead of buying a container, I'm going to hold something. I'm going to maybe wash out my bulk peanut butter container, and I'm going to take off the label and all the glue on it. And it's a perfectly good, beautiful container. And now I'm going to use it to hold my pasta or my flour or whatever. And I can see in that jar exactly where the level is. I don't have to open it up to look inside and see. And I don't have to label most of them because I can see what it is inside. And that comes really handy both in the kitchen and in the workshop as well. That's something that we found was really handy, with saving those bottles, and because they're plastic, they can drop, and it might be full of screws or bike parts or whatever it is that you have inside that container. And if you drop it on the ground, it doesn't break, which is really nice. And it keeps things really nicely organized for your family as well, your family and your business, your workshop areas. And as I say, you don't have to go searching for things because you can see at a glance, oh, these are
Mhm.
all my different types of screws and bolts and nuts and things. And I found that as a really handy thing today to do. And you don't have to buy any containers to do that. It's just a simple example. Another thing that I really like to use is there's these plastic jugs that have handles on them, vinegar container, for instance, and it
Mhm.
has a handle on it. So I will take the bottom off at an angle and leave the cap on, and I take the end with the handle, and now I have a scoop. So I can use that scoop to scoop out flour out of a bin or cat food or dog food, or I use it for garden amendments. Instead of buying these expensive scoops at the store, I'm making them out of something I would throw away. These are just simple examples. I
Right.
mean, there's probably some really good ones in there, but those are the ones that come to my mind just right now.
Well, and it's, shows like the home edit are so popular right now, and it's kind of, in one way, I love it because I love organizing and I love love having everything all neat, but it's always been my pet peeve that they have all these bringing in all these different containers, and I
Yes.
would love for them to do a show where it's like reusing what you have, and like you say, you can still make things look really pretty and organized
Yes.
by just taking labels off of old jars. And candles, you can, I get some really pretty candles, and then when the container's done, I just, pop it in the freezer for a couple of minutes, and then the wax at the bottom easily pops right out. You clean that off, and then you've got these beautiful vessels to put things in and display as well. So,
Exactly.
yeah, and
Yeah,
the
instead of
money.
going out and buying those fancy jars, you've
Exactly.
already got them.
Exactly.
Yes.
And like you say, the
Yes.
money that you save, you can use for things that are way more important at this point, and saving for the future and things as well. So one of the things
Absolutely.
I'm wondering if you want to comment on is how you can encourage family members and friends to join in on this. I know, I have a friend who was dating recently, and she was invited over to the gentleman's house, and she said, I knew right off the get-go it wasn't gonna work because I couldn't see a recycling bin in his kitchen.
Oh.
And I thought,
Oh
"Oh,
my
well,
goodness.
okay. I get it." So,
Yeah.
how do you, I always just try to lead by example,
Yes.
but you also don't wanna be that annoying person that's
Nope.
constantly, like, nagging people. But how do you suggest encouraging others to join in what we're doing?
I would do just that. I would lead by example. So let's say, for example, I have a coworker who is constantly throwing, they drink a lot of soda and they're throwing their sodas in the can, and I'm always seeing the sodas in the can. So I might present to my office, hey, why don't we all save our bottles and cans and use that money to donate, the returnable funds to donate to the local animal shelter. Let's raise some funds. Look at all these cans we have in our bin. We could make a difference for these animals, and get everyone in the office inspired by that and thinking, oh, now we're going to look at the value. And then at the end of the week or month, when you take it in, post it somewhere in the staff room and say, hey, you guys, we raised $30 for the animals in the shelter this week, something that would inspire them. The other thing I might do, and probably have done maybe more frequently than I should, is I would reach in and I would pick it up right in front of them and I would say, oh, this goes in the recycling, I'll take that in. And I'm not telling them, I'm not nagging them, I'm not giving them, you should, and don't you
Right,
know, and blah, blah, blah. That's not my place. My place is, am I going to walk by it? Or am I going to do something about it?
right,
Period. What am I going to do? What is my responsibility? Never mind everybody else. It's what I'm doing. And so if I don't pick that up and do something with it, then aren't I just as guilty as the person who threw it in there or dropped it on the
yeah,
ground? Right. So if I'm walking past a piece of litter on the ground and I walk by it, I'm too lazy to bend down and pick it up. Oh my gosh, I might get my finger dirty. Oh, darn. So to me, I'm just as guilty walking by that and doing nothing about it than the person who put it there. I'm not about to start nagging and pointing and telling people shaming them and telling them what they aren't doing right. I'm more about leading by example and showing them how positive this can be. Like I say,
right.
starting up a drive at work and saying,
Yeah,
hey, let's all save our cans, and every one of them, and hey, this month we between us and our customers, we donated $100 to that organization.
That's
Do you guys
incredible. Like,
have
I
a
never
favorite
even really thought
organization?
about it like that. It's
Yeah.
so amazing. I think I could see so many workplaces doing something like that where they could really make a difference, especially, I'm from a small town.
Mhm.
So, if all the small businesses did that and then donated to like the local, animal shelters and,
Yes, or the food bank
the
or
food
whatever, drives
drives
their
and things
fancy.
like that,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with Christmas coming up right now. Again,
Yeah.
it's those little things that add up. Like you said, you
Yes.
you put all these cans together and all of a sudden it's $30, and that $30 can make a huge difference,
Yes.
to somebody. So it's just these little, again, small steps that we can take. We always talk about how, and you've mentioned it as well, getting overwhelmed. And when we break it down like this, it's really simple. Like, and you don't
Yes.
feel overwhelmed. It's actually something that's so simple you can implement today and
Yes.
make a huge impact in such a short period of time. So I love that.
Well,
I want to
and
talk.
it's the same as, oh, sorry, it's the
No, go
same
ahead.
as when you're a writer, as a writer, who am I going to be working with? If I'm going to go with a publisher, I'm going to look at the public. Who are they? What kind of paper are they using? Do they have in-house green in-house policies? Do they support charities? Do they align with my beliefs? Are they going to partner with me in some project or another that I'm looking forward to doing that's going to benefit the world in some way? You want to be able, the people that we purchase from as a business, do they align with our beliefs? And are we celebrating that? We have all these in-house, newsletters. We could put flyers out. We could have little notices. We could do press releases. There's all kinds of blogs. There's all kinds of ways for us to communicate that we care about who we're buying from, and also to celebrate them. Hey, did you know that our supplier of hemp tow does so, runs their business organically? Or, did you know that the
Right.
local, the local restaurant that we visit all the time, they purchase their food from the local farmers market? Isn't that great? There's lots of ways that we can celebrate the people that we're connected to and make a difference that way. Like, we're showing how great things are. And I
Yeah,
think
and
that
that's such a
that
great way
inspires people.
to it's a great way to show that leadership, right? Is like lead, by example. If you're making those posts, other people are going to start, recognizing that and maybe start posting the similar types of posts themselves. And then it's just a snowball effect. It's, a really
Right,
great
and then
way of
they're
getting
gonna
the word
feel
out.
like doing something themselves, and they'll get more
Mhm.
and more involved as well. No, well, no, my neighbors are doing things, I better start doing things, right? So that
Right.
it gets that whole sensation going on as well. And we're celebrating good things. We're not, instead of going, "Oh, did you hear about this horrible thing that I heard on the news?" Nah, 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 and bring
Yeah.
everybody down, right? Why? What did
Yeah.
that do? What kind of good did that do,
And I love, the not shaming part. We often see a lot of times we'll see things and posted and we're kind of like, and you kind of want to call them out on it. But then, sometimes that's not a good thing to do, especially in public, and
Mm.
on the social media and stuff. There's the other ways of handling it. And I think encouraging and highlighting those positive things are a great example
Oh,
of doing it like
absolutely.
that
And
too, so.
and the smallest action can have a really big difference on your energy bills and everything. Like, I'll give you this example of cooking eggs. This is a really simple example, okay? So you put your eggs in your pot and you add the water and you put it on the burner and you turn it on. You bring it to a full boil. You put the lid on, you leave it on the burner with the lid on, and you turn the burner off. You set your timer for 12 minutes and your eggs are done. You haven't boiled them for 7 minutes straight. You've only boiled them once, and you've let that heat continue to cook them. And so it saves your energy that way. You can reuse that water. You can water your deck plants once it's cooled. You can
Yeah.
reuse it in your compost. You can water your outdoor plants as well. Lawn, if you have a lawn outside your apartment building, you can take a jug of your collected waters out there and just pour it on the lawn. Why waste all this stuff and just pour it down the drain? If it's winter,
Exactly.
leave that pot of water off to the side with the lid on and let it slowly dissipate that heat in your house. If it's summer, put it out on the deck, let it cool out there so you're not having the heat in the house.
That's amazing. I love it. Love it, love it. I would like to know if you have any advice for aspiring authors who are in this sustainability field. What would you suggest they do? I know you've got a blog as well, just to help get that awareness out there. What do you recommend that they do?
Oh, there's so many things. I've written so much about this particular topic. There's so many things that a person could do. As an author with a blog, I'm able to highlight nonprofits in my community. I can interview them. I can speak with volunteers. I can speak about my own in-house policies, things that I'm doing, volunteer work that I'm doing, charities that I'm supporting. Anything along those lines that I believe in, I can celebrate on my blog. I can highlight them. I can highlight those around me, people I'm working with. It's a great opportunity to do that. Um, if you are if you're savvy with your social networking sites, maybe you can start a local group where on, say, Facebook, where you can invite all the nonprofits and volunteers to get together and learn about these wonderful experiences and networking that could be happening between them if they only knew about each other. That's one thing that we can do to get involved. We might want to look at maybe, where we're advertising, who we're advertising with. Plays a huge role as well. Do they align with what we believe in as well?
Right.
There are so many things that we can do. We can use our writing itself as a tool to make a difference. I can write about something I believe in, write about something I want to bring attention to, and I can give or sell that article, and at the same time get promotions for myself, get exposure for myself. I might get involved with silent auctions. Like there's a lot of charitable organizations and community events that are happening out there, schools that are looking for ways to raise funds. Maybe our books could be part of their prizes or their
Right.
door prizes, or these kinds of things, so we can get involved in supporting them and at the same time supporting our own business.
That's amazing. Well, I just wanted to say thanks so much for taking the time. I love what you're doing. Can you share with us if you have any plans? I know you write a lot of other books. Do you have any plans for writing anything more in the sustainability field in the near future, or what's your focus being currently?
Okay, well, we just released a couple of years ago, last 2 springs ago, coming up on, I think it was February 21st when it came out, so that'll be the 2-year mark. It's a cookbook, and it's called From One Small Garden Over 300 Delicious and Nutritious Recipes. So
Wonderful.
it encourages people to grow on their balcony, along their fence, vertical gardens to give them shade on their sunny window, grow some beans there, grow some cucumbers there, shade their balcony, save energy by doing so, and get themselves some food. We also encourage not just growing on your own property, whether you have ground to grow in or not, you can still grow, but also to support local, buying local. The impact of your menu plan has a huge impact on the environment.
Right.
When you think about how far each one of those items on your plate has traveled, how many places it has been stored and repackaged and then reshipped and then transported
Mhm.
again before it gets to you, before it gets to the store that you buy it from, so it has all this packaging, all of this shipping, all that fossil fuel impact. If we buy local, if we buy fresh, we're getting nutrient packed food with hardly any environmental impact in comparison to how we were formerly shopping. So this book encourages that. It says, okay, you've gone to the farmer's market, you loaded up your truck with all of these amazing ingredients, and now what the heck are you going to do with them?
Right.
So you look them up in the back of the book, and you can start making these amazing dishes. And there's quite a few like bulk related dishes. And the reason why I say that, like larger soups and things, and the reason why we did larger amounts in that regard is because in peak season, that's when you're getting the best deals.
Right.
You want to take advantage of that, and then you put them in your mason jars or other
And you
container,
freeze
and you
them and
freeze
yeah,
it, and you're good to go for the season, for the
right.
year. We produce 60 to 70% of our fruit, vegetable, and nuts off of our lot, and it's in town. It's in the city limits. So everybody could do this, and it's really not that hard to do once you start on that road. The very last chapter of this book has a section where we encourage people to reduce their waste further, not just food waste, but packaging waste. So we teach them how they can make their own taco season. How can you make your own chicken coating? How can you make, your own dog shampoo? How can you make your own dog treats? There's all these things. There must be about, I think, 15 or 20 different recipes in there of things that now you're not buying bottles. You're not buying spray bottles. You're not buying all these envelopes and all the packaging that goes with it. And you're also not having to stand and, spend all that time shopping. So it saves you a heck of a lot of time and energy. So
That's amazing. Oh,
and a
now I got
whole bunch
another
of
great
money.
book I got to get.
Oh yes, you got to get it from One Small Garden, and it's got a really good following here locally. We've had a great response for it. We're actually getting in 1 month. We're going to be in the local grocery store, which is a chain. It's a grocery store chain,
Right.
and this local store is part of that chain. So if we do really well in this chain, then we have the potential of getting multi-store deals. So we're really excited because
Awesome.
normally you have to pay to get into these chain stores, and they're giving us a space. And not only that, they're giving us prominent space. So we're really excited about this opportunity. Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
done really
Congratulations.
well. Thank
That's
you.
wonderful. Well, before we leave, I'm just going to make sure that we have every thing in the show notes. We'll have all the links. But if you want to just quickly give us your website or where you're best to be reached at.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, honestly, the best place they can go is just do a search online and pop in Dave and Lillian Bremmut. Honestly, you're going to find like dozens and dozens and dozens of pages of links for us, honestly.
And we do have those links available in the show notes, so that'll be great.
So that's really the best way to do it.
Awesome.
Our blog, Brummet's Conscious blog, and the Brummet Media channel on YouTube are some places that I think your audience would be most interested in finding. So just do a Google search or internet search on those terms, and you'll find us there. Our main website is brummetmedia.ca, but I would encourage you to check out those.
Wonderful. Thanks so much for meeting with us today. And I enjoyed talking to you so much. And I look forward to getting the book and seeing what else comes out in the future. Thanks so much, Lillian.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Start Small. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and found a small step you can take today. Make sure you share it with a friend. And if you have not done so yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and if you are enjoying this podcast, consider taking a moment and leaving us an honest review in your Apple Podcasting app so more people can be inspired to take small steps towards social impact.